Okay. Almost finished with God's book. This is the third time I've put his book on video. He has me repost them all the time. And the ones that were there from the first time I did it, they got reposted 40 times. And boy, did they start to look bad. I kept waiting for him to say, let's do it again. He'd ask me sometimes if I wanted to, and I said, well, sure, but just anything you tell me to do. And we finally did about 3 weeks ago. But in that time, he had already had me repost those 8 to 10 times, something like that. And some of them are already showing some wear and tear. So we began again this week. Might have been Monday or so. Takes forever to upload these. A half-hour video. This is why I have all these parts. My memory card will hold until 10, 12, 14 videos of 30 minutes. But it stops. The camera says I don't have any more memory every 30 minutes. And all I do is just turn it off, turn it back on, and it's ready to go again. That's what all these different parts for. This is part 2 of chapter 47. Chapter 47, part 1 is already on YouTube. I'm going to pick up with the verse I was in the middle of, and this will be kind of a repeat, but that's the way I'm supposed to do it. Now, this book, God's book, was dictated to me as he dictated the Torah to Moses. And your rabbis will be surprised to learn that he dictated, commanded, and directed all the prophets of the book of the prophets, their books, their respective books. That's 20 right there. And here's what's interesting. When the Spirit of God alights upon Moshe, that would be me, righteous servant Moshe, God is in his spirit. And his spirit is an angel. God created an angel, and for that angel's body, it's not human form and wings. It's the Spirit of God. So, chapter 11 could have read, the Spirit of God and God lit upon the twig of the shoot of Moshe, the anointed one. The Spirit alighting upon you and entering you, as we see in Ezekiel, is the anointment. So I became a man of divine being, just like every single prophet did, because that's how God talks to a man. It's how he talked to Moses. Spirit lit upon Moses, and the angel of his presence, the Holy Spirit, the angel that went before them to clear to make sure they got back to the promised land. And of course, God was there, because he told Moses, I'm going to go to Egypt with you, and I'll bring you back. And I'm going to bring you back too. Wherever God is, the angel is. It's the angel of his presence. His presence is his mind. Now, God covers the earth, and so does the Spirit. You can find that in Genesis, first page. But, well, you can find out that his Spirit covers the earth anyway. And he's in his Spirit. But that's not the totality of his mind. I mean, I don't know how he's actually constituted, but he has a mind. And that's what enters the temple. Along with the angel of his presence, the Holy Spirit. Together they are the Shekinah. In every book, including Samuel 1, Samuel 2, Kings 1, Kings 2, the writings. Okay? Now, Ezra and Nehemiah did not write their books. God had somebody else do it. Probably one or two of the prophets that he was with, You know, they wrote their book, maybe it was a short book, and he said, now I need you to write Nehemiah or Chronicles 1. The entirety of the book comes from God. And that can be verified. And there's videos that do just that, to show you how you can see that has to be true. And really the simplest thing is Isaiah could not have put together 53 with the multiple purposes that it has. And I got commentary. I got a commentary that's generic on 53, not trying to say it's Israel, Jesus, or Moshe. And I also have them. Well, anyway, there's a bunch of Isaiah 53 in the book, but it's 50 chapters. And there's only about 5 that are specific to Isaiah 53. Lots of knowledge on heaven in my capacity as Elijah. See, there's six unfulfilled prophecies of the Bible in this day of the Lord, which you can confirm if you have the knowledge of Isaiah, Jeremiah 31 in particular, Ezekiel, he's the key to understanding Isaiah 53, and Malachi. Because that's where Jeremiah takes you. See, the time is coming, the land will bloom again, ruined cities restored, Jerusalem rebuilt, and I will make a new covenant with you. Well, how did you get the first covenant, Jewish people? Moses. Who are you looking for? A prophet like Moses. How will you know him? God dictates the book to him, and I'm sure the Orthodox Jews anyway believe that he dictated the Torah to Moses. I couldn't know the information of this book. No rabbi today or at any time in the history of Judaism knows the things I'm telling you right now. They don't believe the Spirit of God's a person. For instance, they think there's 10 lost tribes. Well, Ezra says the exact opposite. He said the exiles that returned, all 13 tribes, gathered as one man. It's got to be all of the tribes to build the second temple. And God forgave their sins. They became a holy seed and built the second temple. Well, what do I have with me? And in my capacity as Elijah, of course, I can talk to the angel of the Lord that's on the way from Malachi 3 of the covenant you desire. Well, sin forgiveness. He's doing it again. Why? Need the third temple built in the worst way. And you can watch my videos or read the book. And we had a video on every chapter. And they're fresh again. You can actually see me and my words match my lips. But I couldn't know the knowledge of this book any more than Moses could have known the first 5 books of the Bible, Hebrew Bible, the Torah, much less the 613 laws the Jewish people had derived from those 5 books from God for the Jewish people. Okay, 47, part 2. This is verse 29. May they be erased from the book of life and not be inscribed with the righteous. Okay, this is midrash form, break a verse down in parts, and then comment on the parts. Be erased from the book of life and not be inscribed with the righteous. Commentary. A heavenly book in which the names of the righteous are inscribed. The erasure of a sinner's name from such a register is equivalent to death. According to the Talmud, it is open on Rosh Hashanah. Rosh Hashanah itself is also known as the Day of Judgment, on which God opens the books of life and death. Now, none of this is in the Hebrew Bible, by the way. But, you know, every religion has got the things, but you can't be teaching something like world exaltation. It goes completely against the purpose of the Jewish people. That's to test the world, to see how much they hate them and how long they'll hate them for. See if we can change any minds with the real Moshiach, the real Messiah. And the righteous servant of God finally gets here. This sure as heck ain't Jesus. He doesn't fit either one. Sure as heck. I never say that. He controls my thoughts, my mind. And that's the knowledge of heaven, because in heaven you're not going to have your mind. God becomes the information of your mind on all things Jewish. All things. Hebrew Bible, Talmud, food, history, individuals. But with me, but he's doing it with me right now, being the information of my mind. As though my spirit can no longer read the electrical impulses and chemicals from the different parts of the brain that have different tissues. Yeah, your spirit reads that. Those aren't your thoughts. Those electrical impulses are not your thoughts. You are your spirit, and your soul's the DNA of your spirit. Kind of, you know, you're a main, are you a main person, night person, loving person, romantic person? That comes from your soul. But it's your spirit, and with spirit, a soul becomes a person, becomes who you are. We're all in our spirit, and God is in His spirit. The eraser, okay. God opens the books of life and death. He says there is no such thing. It's a fun teaching. Oh, He can speak to him. He can speak through Moses. Moses was His veritable mouthpiece on earth. And I speak to him, he'll point my head. And he said, today, when you're on video, you talk to me up here. Although He is within me and He fills this room. Oh, His power, it's just like the cords of His power Ezekiel talks about, that He gets bound with. I don't think of it as ropes. I think it just, His power envelops me from head to toe. Yeah, He can slam me to the ground if He thinks I need it. And He has, about 10 times, I think. First time it was on grass, but it's been on cement many times. He busted my chin up, wounded. Wonder where's the 53. Busted my chin open 3 times. I said, I gotta go to the doctor, look at this, look at all this blood. He said, now what would that look like? If I let you go to a doctor, I'm God. I gotta heal it up if I want to. You'll be fine. I made sure it wasn't too bad. Cracked my skull. Got a nerve damage up here. And He takes my hand sometime and rubs it just to bother me because it feels real funny. I'm in the fire refinement, okay? It's where He takes a furious person like Moses and Ezekiel and myself. And He tempers all your emotions and brings that anger down. Makes you so angry so many times. you just start losing it. It's just like, I can't get mad anymore. Go ahead, do whatever you're going to do, say whatever you're going to say. So that I'll be, nobody's born to be a prophet, so I'll be a good prophet. The 2 days of Rosh, God opens the books of life and death, which are then sealed on Yom Kippur. The 2 days of Rosh Hashanah usher in the 10 days of repentance, also known as the days of awe, which culminate in the major fast day of Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement. The scroll of remembrance in Malachi chapter 3, verse 16, is not the book of life. And this is from Malachi 3, verse 16, I guess. In this vein have those who revere the Lord been talking to one another. The Lord has heard and noted it, and a scroll of remembrance has been written at his behest concerning those who revere the Lord and esteem his name. And in the day that I am preparing, that's God speaking, and that's the day of the Lord, to the Lord of hosts, they shall be my treasured possession. I will be tender toward them as a man is tender toward a son who ministers to him. And you shall come to see the difference between the righteous and the wicked, between him who has served the Lord and him who has not served him. For lo, that day is at hand, burning like an oven. It's here. The scroll of remembrance is about a special place in the heart of God for those who revere the Lord and esteem his name in the day of the Lord that he is preparing. Not a specific 24-hour day, but the days from when Israel returned. That's all it's ever been about. Y'all come back and I'll come back. It's just taking long. I know it's been 70 years, but the land was desolate for 2,000. And as in Jeremiah, it's supposed to bloom again. Now, he came to me 9 years later when I was born. Didn't reveal himself until I was 50. Orchestrated my life of suffering, pain, grievous bodily injuries. Familiar with disease and crushed with disease, but given long life. 22 years ago, I was given 1 month, exposed to death, as it says in verse 12. This is what you're looking for. You're not looking for a Jesus. This man's not perfect. He's in there in the first 6 verses that are in quotes by the witnesses. And the biggest problem and what's wrong with them when they say he was wounded for our sins, they're not following God's laws and they feel guilt. So God crushed me with disease and I offered myself for guilt. But what I'm really offered was to remove their guilt by making them righteous. They're the many made righteous. That's what the story's about. I was as lowly as them. God selected me and I'm rising like a tree crown. No specific day, but the days of his righteous servant who God sends before him with the angel of the new covenant to clear the way for his return. Clearing the ways, being instrumental in having the third temple built. To make the many righteous who believe in him and listen to and heed him as the representation of God who speaks and writes God's words, as Moses did. God must have followers of his righteous servant Moshiach for the day of the Lord. No man alone can clear the way for the Lord. Verse 30. But I am lowly and in pain. This is King David. Oh, but I think this is before he became king. But I am lowly and in pain. Your help, O God, keeps me safe. No commentary. Verse 31. I will extol God's name with song and exalt him with praise. No commentary. That will please the Lord more than oxen, than bulls with horns and hoofs. Please him more than sacrifices. Okay, I don't know if I have any more commentary. Verse 33, the lowly will see and rejoice. You are mindful of God, take heart. You who are mindful of God, take heart. 34, for the Lord listens to the needy and does not spurn his captives. 35, heaven and earth shall extol him, and all that moves in them. Verse 36, for God will deliver Zion and rebuild the cities of Judah. They shall live there and inherit it. Verse 37. The third temple is not to go on the Temple Mount, period. It's not big enough. It's tainted with Islam, and Jordan controls it. But it has to be on Mount Zion. There's got to be plenty of room somewhere. Preferably in Jerusalem. I don't know how much open land there is, and he needs a big tract. Is what he tells me. Final verse, verse 37. The offspring of his servant shall possess it. Those who cherish his name shall dwell there. Okay, next up is chapter 48. The 12 tribes of Israel returned to Judah. Actually, it's 13 tribes. Only 12 were allotted lands in the promised land. The Levites, the priestly tribe, well, they also returned. But whatever reason, well, they were allowed to go to all the different tracts, lots of the 12 tribes, and supposedly taking care of them while they were there. They didn't have their own separate tract. Thank you for watching.